All right. Hello, everybody. This is Nicole Whitlock, and this is the eCom Sellers Print on Demand Mastery Session 9. So we're making some progress. We're clipping along. In sessions 1 and 2, we went through the process of kind of getting started and setting up our foundation, doing a little bit of research, making some decisions. In sessions 3 and 4, we focused 100% on printables and downloadables. We created some. We used different tools to be able to create them. We talked about the different tools. We talked about what's happening with Canva. We also talked about trademarks and copyrights and all that other fun stuff. And session 5 and 6, we worked on physical products. We connected our stores to, or we created our Etsy store and connected our stores to the print provider, which I think everyone did, either Printful or Printify. We walked through the steps of actually creating that one listing or that 2 listings. And, we continued to work with Canva and design some stuff. So we went through those steps. And I think I even created a couple of designs or a design here and there for those in class. So we did that. In session 7 and 8, we went through books and we worked on books and ebooks, and we went through the steps of uploading our book once we create the content into Lulu, and we also went through the steps in KDP. So we walked through that process. We kind of reviewed the websites for the 2. We talked about the different types of print providers that are available, what tools you can be using to be able to do some deep book research. And again, I encourage you to get started. So my hope, my prayer, my wish is that you actually either did at least one exercise at a minimum in the printables category, that you did at least one full exercise in the physical products category, and you did at least one exercise in the books category, even if it's an incomplete book, because I think I made a fake book, but we actually just went through the exercise of just getting the book done. So now we're on to sessions 9 and 10, where we're going to be talking about more operational types of things that you need to consider and think about when it comes to your e-commerce business. And in session 11, we're going to be talking about AI and how we automate all of this wonderful stuff that we've kind of talked through. So with that, I am first going to allow anyone that has any questions, please feel free to ask your questions. You can type them in the chat and we can cover them. Thank you so much. We can cover whatever questions you have. So what questions do you have? And don't forget, if you need some one-on-one help and support, I will put the link in the chat and you can schedule a free 20-minute coaching session with me. It won't be 20 minutes. I trust you, it'll probably be an hour, but we will do whatever it is we need to do. If that's going through and look at your design, if it's making sure that your connection from Printful or Printify is connected clearly to Etsy, if it's just you want me to look over your shoulder, I am happy to do all of those. And if you're listening to the replay, this is an opportunity for you too. So you can go to tidycow.com/ecom sellers, tidycow.com/ecom sellers, and click on the free 20-minute coaching session. Just schedule it. And then if it takes 20 minutes, great. But if it takes an hour, we are going to stay on the line until we have your project done. I want everybody to be successful. I want everybody to get some items up. I want you to take steps and take actions in your business to move it forward. So with that being said, we're going to get into the class. So today we're talking about order fulfillment. We're also going to be talking about customer service, inventory management, knowing your numbers, setting your targets, and then outsourcing to a virtual assistant. That is the topics for today. Now, one of these, we're actually going to do it in real time together. We're going to plug and play some numbers because I like to play with numbers, and this set some realistic goals and targets for you. Okay. So with that, the great thing about print on demand is you have the opportunity for them to auto fulfill your orders if you connect your print on demand provider to your store. So in the example of the exercises that we did in session 5 and 6, we created the design in Canva, step 1. We downloaded the image and uploaded it to Printful, step 2. we superimposed our lovely design onto a product, whether it was a phone case cover, a canvas bag, a t-shirt. We attached it to a specific product inside of Printful. And then we also decided which images we wanted to select from Printful, and we determined our price. They gave us an opportunity before we sent the image or sent the product over to Etsy to edit the title and edit the description. If you want to edit the title and edit the description in Printful, that's what's going to go over to Etsy. If you don't want to edit there, then you need to edit it over in Etsy. So it's ultimately your call. But I reiterated over and over again that you really do need to update those titles and descriptions. So, and also adding tags when you get over to Etsy. So the next step, that was step 3. And there was a lot in step 3. So we could break down step 3 into part A, part B, and part C of step 3. So part A is selecting the product that we want to put this design on and getting our image. Part B is deciding which images that we wanted to select that's going to go over to our listing on Etsy. Part C is setting our price. What is it we're going to sell it for? And D is sending that over to Etsy. So before we send it over, updating the title and the description. So once our listing's over on Etsy, then step 4 is to make the listing live, making any adjustments that we need to. And that was what we did. Now, once all of that is done, once the integration is in place, then whenever you get a sale on Etsy, Printful would automatically be notified. And Printful would automatically ship the item to the customer. Now, they're going to, of course, find the shirt, t-shirt, whatever it was, a hoodie, socks, whatever it was. They're going to find it. They're going to put it through their machines so they can print your design onto it. They're going to check it through quality control, and then they're going to package that item up. And once they package it up, put the shipping label on it and send it off to the customer. So the only thing you have to do is just monitor the activity in your back office. That's it. That's the wonderful thing about print on demand. It frees you up to not have to handle any inventory. So the printing, the packaging, and the shipping is all handled by them. It's not anything that you directly have to do anything with. Now, if you decide that you don't want to have the integration in place and you want to manually place your orders with whichever print provider, I can talk today, whichever print provider you decide, you can also do that. Again, they still, if it's a print provider that's actually doing the printing and shipping to your customer, whether you manually place the order with them or whether it's automated, they will still pull the item, print the design on it, package it up, and ship it to your customer. They will do that for you. If you were doing print on demand where you had a silk screen at your house, or you had one of those printing presses or whatever at your house, or you were using vinyl, printing to iron on to shirts or press on the shirts, like all of that, or you have to fill ink, like you have to handle all of that. The machine breaks down, you got to deal with it. The vinyl, something doesn't stick right, you got to deal with it. If something happens with your irons, you got to deal with it. And so there could be some cost savings in you manually doing it if you have mastered the art of doing it and you have the time and flexibility to package up stuff and ship it to your customer yourself. But if you don't have that flexibility, then I would just encourage you to use the providers to automate that process for you so you don't have to handle it yourself. So order fulfillment is automated, and that's fantastic. There are times when the print on demand provider might run out of a specific thing. So instead of like, maybe you chose a t-shirt that was, 80% cotton and 20% rayon, or, 80% or 75% cotton and 25% polyester, and they ran out of it, because you get to choose the type of t-shirt or type of hoodie or type of whatever, and they may have multiple material sources or options available to you. So if they run out of something, you want to pay attention to those notifications so that way you can begin the process of communicating with your customer directly should that item take longer to get into stock for them and to get it shipped. Most of the order fulfillment companies are going to have a time frame in which they are indicating that it's going to take them to process. A lot of them are going to tell you that up front. Our processing time is 2 days. Our processing time is 3 days. Our processing time is 5 days. That does not include shipping time. That's just processing time. Processing time consists of pulling the item off the shelves, printing the design, checking it, printing the design, and then doing quality control, packaging it up. That's all that, and putting the label on it for shipping. That is processing time. So depending on which platform that you are selling on, if it's Etsy, again, you want to indicate that processing time information into your listing. And I would probably pad it by 1 day. So if they indicated the processing time is 2 days, I'm going to put on my Etsy store processing time is 3 days. If they indicate that processing time is 4 days, I'm going to indicate on my Etsy store that the processing time for this item is 5 days. So adding that extra time will help give you a buffer. Maybe they're printing in another country. Maybe they're waiting on a shipment and they thought they had enough in. Maybe they have a crew that's out sick today, like whatever that happens to be. If there's any kind of delay, that gives you more time for processing time. And then estimated shipping time, they will tell you on their site what the estimated shipping is for its average shipping. Okay, so they may say shipping time, estimated shipping time is 2 to 5 days, because they may be shipping it priority, they may be shipping it express, whatever they are shipping it. Again, you want to make sure that you know what that is. So that's information that you want to read and research before you go with that print provider. You should always know processing time, and you should always know shipping time. Okay, and one more tip, as you get closer and closer to Q4, I would pad that processing time by at least 2 days, and I would pad the shipping time by at least 1 day. Pay attention to the communication that is coming from that provider or any other provider so that you can make adjustments to your listings to accommodate the increased volume that they're going to be processing during Q4. That's going to make sure your customers are not frustrated and anxious when they don't have the item that they are like paid for. I paid for this and I haven't received it yet. It hasn't been shipped to me. I don't know where it is, all that other stuff. You want to stay on top of your customer service so that way that does not become a big issue for you, especially around Q4. So you want to go and check what's going on with the shipment. You want to confirm that the shipment went out. That should be one of your activities every day. Even if you only do it in the morning, like you could do it in the morning, or maybe you could hire a VA to do it, but you could do it in the morning to check your shipments that, have happened in the last 24 hours, just to make sure that it's either gone out or whatever. And so then the next morning you would check again, just making sure what's being processed and what isn't reflected in your back office of Printful or Printify or whoever you're working with as your printer. Okay, so go check that and then be prepared, if necessary, to send an email to your customer if there's any other accommodations that need to be made, like adjustments to whatever the shipping time is. But you want to make sure in your listing, again, certain times of the year, you might inflate the processing time and you might inflate the shipping time as you indicated on your listing itself, and depending on the platform, so that you don't run into problems. You also want to make sure that you're mindful of the expectations for the different platforms. Etsy, you can indicate that it's going to take 7 days for processing, and Etsy's probably not going to scream at you. Walmart, Amazon, eBay might frown a little bit because there's an expectation. Now, on your eBay listings, you can indicate your processing time is 2 days or 3 days or whatever. On your Amazon and your Walmart listings, again, depending on how your store is defined and set up, they do have a regular expectation. So if you're going to list your print-on-demand products on Amazon or on Walmart, and you're not really sure where to update your processing time, I would contact their seller support so that you know exactly where to make the adjustments. So you're not getting hate mail from Amazon and you're not getting hate mail from Walmart because they don't like the fact that you're not updating the listing as shipped as quickly as they would like. There's not a lot of sellers that are selling direct print on demand on Walmart. There are sellers that are selling print on demand on Amazon, but there's not as many on Walmart because Walmart initially they were not as flexible. There are some flexibilities, just sellers just need to go back to Walmart. But so you want to be mindful of that you need to make those updates. And I'm not talking about merch by Amazon. I'm talking about print on demand where you are selling print on demand products directly on Amazon. That's what I'm talking about. So make sure you understand what's required of the platform so that you don't get yourself in trouble and that you update your listing accordingly so you don't have problems. You also want to pay attention, like you have the opportunity to list print on demand products on, like Bonanza, which is you can turn on the sync. There's a account sync between eBay and Bonanza. So whenever a listing is created on eBay, it automatically creates it on Bonanza. You can turn, which by default can push your listings to Google Shopping, which is not a bad thing. And you want to make sure you understand how to do that when it comes to selling on Bonanza. In addition to that, you can list your print on demand products on Facebook Marketplace, again, understanding what the shipping requirements are. And then I believe Mercari and Poshmark, like Mercari more so than Poshmark, like you can do that, but again, you want to set the expectation so that you're not getting hate mail and whatever, hate notifications from the set platform. So be mindful of that. And there's other apps like 5 Mile and there's all kinds of other apps that are out there. So just be mindful of that. If you do get an inquiry about shipping, again, if you're staying on top of it, you should be able to answer that question immediately. If you're checking every single day, if it's part of your daily routine to go and check to see what's happening with your shipments with the provider, then it should be an easy response. But if you got to stop what you're doing and go check, then that's a different thing. So just do what you can to stay on top of it. Your goal is to make sure that it flows like butter. That's the goal, melted butter. So that's what you want. You want things to just work automatically. You don't want there to be challenges. And it doesn't hurt for when you have a sale, because the integration's in place, automated emails can be generated, or depending on the platform, automated emails can be generated. For some platforms, they may not have that automated email notification in place. And so you sending an email to your customer doesn't hurt. So those are all things that you can do to make things easier for you when you are using a print on demand provider to auto fulfill orders. Okay, so stay on top of your email notifications from them because they'll tell you what's going on. So I talked about a lot of customer service related stuff when it came to order fulfillment. And the biggest thing is how you create that listing and what you're saying the processing and shipping time is going to be so that you don't run into a bunch of headaches and stress and challenges. That's your goal. Your goal is to be there for your customer so that they feel comfortable about doing a transaction with you. They're not anxious about the fact that they just bought something from somebody who opened a store 2 minutes ago, and that you're very professional about it. So those things, those tips that I gave you when it came to order fulfillment will help you to appear more, bigger than you are, bigger than an independent seller, more professional. Okay. So your goal is to always provide really good customer service, because if you do, customers are going to come back. Have a high probability that your customers will come back. If your customer service is shoddy, then you're going to have to work to rebuild that trust to get the customers back. And especially if they put some negative reviews. You don't want that. The goal is not to have negative reviews. So what you want to do, there's several things that you need to do in order to be responsive to your customers. One, definitely follow up and follow through. If you get an email from a customer, or depending on which type of site you're selling on, you get a message from your customer, make sure you follow up and follow through. Follow back up with the customer as quickly as possible. Acknowledge their notification to you so that way you don't run into challenges. Be friendly and professional, even when they are not friendly and professional. Look, here's the deal. You can't take any of this stuff personal. None of it. Don't take, people can get crazy and ignorant, and that's on them. That is 100% on them. That's not about you. So don't let somebody else's ignorance block your cash flow. You reply back to them crazy, you try to ignore them, you shut them down. That's going to potentially impact your ability to sell on that platform and or your ability just to be able to continue to get sales, because people are mean and vindictive. You send them back a messy message, I want to use a different word, then they're going to put you on blast. They will post it all over social media. And now you have you're jacked up because you can't get any sales because they put your crazy response to them on social media. Again, don't take any of this stuff personal, even if they're using slurs, even if they're cussing, even if they're whatever. Don't take any of it personal. And if you run into a situation where there's threats involved, make sure that you notify the platform. I'm not saying this is stuff you're really going to run into. There is a 99% chance that you will never run into anything crazy. But there's always that 1% chance that that crazy person is sitting right there behind the computer and they want to say some crazy stuff, send you some crazy stuff, do screenshots, put you on blast, get your store shut down, threaten you, and whatever else. Just don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. This business is your business. This business was given to you by God if you prayed about it. This is what you're supposed to be doing. Whatever they got going on in their relationship with God or Satan is between them and not you. So don't take any of this stuff personal. I'm just telling you. So be friendly, be professional, be responsive, be kind, and try not to say anything that you wouldn't want copied and pasted on USA Today, okay? Or CNN or Fox News. If you don't want everybody in the world to see it, then don't say it. That's the easiest way to keep yourself from not getting in trouble. Be clear and concise, stick to the facts. When you start including emotion in it, you are screwed, you're hosed. At that point, whenever emotion is in there, you're hosed. The facts are, I apologize. Okay, so you could say you apologize or I'm sorry for the inconvenience or something simple like that. And just bullet point number 1, the item was shipped on this date. Bullet number 2, the tracking number is this. Bullet number 3, it was signed off on this date. If you have any additional questions, let me know that they come back. Well, I never got it. Okay, here is the signature. Like, just stick to the facts. Don't get sucked in. Really, just do not get emotional in any of your responses. You want to make sure that depending on which platforms you sell on and depending on the limitations or restrictions of the platform, if it's possible to provide multiple ways for your customer to contact you, great. But if it's not, then follow that platform's guidelines. I'm going to give you an example. eBay. It's not recommended that you talk to customers or communicate with customers outside of the eBay messaging app. Okay, just don't do it, because that's where you're going to get yourself potentially into trouble, because they will. I've had all kinds of interesting stuff. People want to have stuff shipped to a completely different address than the address that they gave us. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to help you with that. This is the address. I'll cancel your order. You can reorder it and put it in the correct address where you want it shipped. Like, this is what we're doing, because people will unfortunately try to scam you. I'm not saying it's going to happen to you personally. I'm just making you aware of it. I'm giving you worst case scenario in this example. The chances are there's a 99% chance you're never going to experience any of this. 99% chance. There's always that 1% chance that crazy person's sitting out there waiting and got nothing else to do. Got a whole bunch of free time on their hands. So my point is, again, follow the guidelines for the platform that you're going to be selling on. If they allow you multiple ways in which for the customer to contact you, great. If they don't, fine. So like with Walmart, you can get emails directly from customers. You can also get phone calls directly from customers. And so that's always very interesting. And I think, for people who are Amazon sellers, like, they're not used to that, because Amazon normally handles the majority of customer service and you get involved when you need to get involved. If Amazon is handling it, you just follow whatever instructions Amazon indicates, or you reply back to Amazon, and they're sort of like the middleman when it comes to the customer service. So that way it doesn't, I won't say all the time it's not messy, but the majority of the time it's not messy. When you have direct access to your customer, then you are the shop owner, you are the store owner, you are the person. So you have to keep that kind of stuff in mind. So just be mindful of it and don't get sucked into the banana in the tailpipe. Just don't. Just don't. With Walmart, they have your email and phone. Etsy, you can give them email and phone. If you have a Shopify store, they, email, phone, and everything else. So whatever you give them. And if you are, and the great thing about Shopify is you can turn on the chat feature too as well. And then if you are cross-listing your things on your social media, make sure that that's one of the places that you're checking for messages. Because you could have messages, somebody could say, hey, do you offer that in a small? Because what they're seeing on Etsy is like large and that's it. And they look for you. Maybe they don't send you a direct message on Etsy, or they don't send you a direct message on whatever platform, but they happen to type a question. Again, you need to have a process that you're going out there and monitoring your social media so that you can get notifications of questions, inquiries, comments. And it is always good that if you have social media that you are checking for comments, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, or wherever, that you're checking for comments, because sometimes people will spam your, fan pages. So make sure that you're checking that. And if you have a live chat turned on, then that's fantastic. Again, make sure you have a process in place to be able to deal with that. As I said before, address their questions quickly, just stick to the facts, monitor feedback. Now, here's two things. One, make sure you know and understand the return steps for the print-on-demand provider. They will have some steps that they want you, the person who is doing business with them and has an integration in place with them, they want you to follow. Each one of those print providers will have a slightly nuanced return procedure. Some of them will say it's okay for you to send it directly to them, have the customer send it to this, here's a shipping label, blah, blah, blah. If it's a return situation where the quality was not good, or something else happened. Sometimes you need to have it shipped to you and you forward it because the address on file with the print provider is you and not the customer. So again, you need to make sure that you understand the steps for returns so that you can address the customer's questions and give them the correct instructions to follow. It will also help you define or develop your own business return policy. So make sure that you do that, and how you're supposed to communicate with the customer. So if you're going to continue to work with Printful or Printify, or maybe you're a person who's mixing and matching the different print-on-demand providers. Maybe you're working with 5 print-on-demand providers. Just know what the return policies are for the 5 that you decided to work with, okay? Know what the steps are so that when you create a listing and then you have the return policy section of the listing, that you have generic enough instructions that covers the majority of all 5 of the companies you're working with. Okay. Or you can do custom, just do an email, not an email, listing template so that you can, whenever I'm working with this company, this is the return text that I use in the template. Whenever I'm working with this company, here's the text. So again, you need to put a process in place. This requires you to get organized for sure. You got to get organized. The next one is make sure that you understand the communication method with the print provider. Again, if a customer has a question like, hey, the image says this is yellow and this thing right here looks like it's a little yellowish green. Is there something going on with the ink? So you can submit questions to these print providers. You need to be able to know how they want you to communicate. Some of them will say call the 800 number. Some will say send an email with images. Some will have a chat bot available to you. So there's different things for each one of the print providers that you decide you're going to do business with. You need to know what that is. If it's a basic question of, can you give me the dimensions of this shirt one more time? Because I went over on your Etsy listing and it was 14 inches from underneath, from the right arm to the left arm. But when I got it home, I'm seeing the measurements of 16. Is there something off? And then that gives you the opportunity to, again, communicate with the provider so that you can figure out what happened. That's the goal. find out what happened, or get an answer, or maybe they say we'll ship out a new one, but you got to know how to communicate with your print providers. Okay. And in any instance that you have the opportunity to do so, do what you can to elevate the customer's experience, because word of mouth matters. I mean, everything today is review based. It wasn't like this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 to 20 years ago. 100% of everything is review based, and it's nuts. So if they have a really good experience with you, that's great. And they will share it with, others just in casual conversations. Maybe they're at a backyard barbecue and they're like, "Oh, I like your shirt. Where'd you get that? I got it on Etsy from this shop, blah, blah, blah." They have a bunch of cool stuff. And then they are all sitting around the fire, drinking beer and looking up stuff on your shop just because of that casual conversation. So do what you can to just make sure that your customer always has a good experience with you and your store, or wherever you happen to be selling. And if you decide that you like, maybe you're going to do print on demand bundles, that may be the thing that you ultimately decide to do. So you're going to have the item shipped to you so you can bundle with something else, or you're going to work with a fulfillment center that will take your print on demand product and bundle it with whatever else. Again, put a little something into that shipment, that box, that, beautifully, designed package, and that says, "Hey, thanks for your purchase. And we're so glad that you're our customer. And here's a coupon for 10% off." Like, do what you can to elevate their experience when you have the opportunity to do so. So I just want to encourage you to do that, depending on which approach you're going to take to running your print on demand business. And I hope that was helpful. So if you have any questions, definitely type it in the chat, because I definitely want to be able to answer them. So the next thing is inventory management. Inventory management for print on demand can sometimes be a little misleading, but if you have lots of listings up, let's say you have 1,000 listings up, you might want to know who your print on demand provider is if you don't remember. For each one of those print on demand products that you have listed, you could have 800 at one print on demand provider, 200 at another, and that's pretty, hopefully, straightforward. You got an inventory sheet, indicates who the print on demand provider is. You can do this in Excel, Google Sheets if you want to, or you can use some software. But at some point, you're going to need to know which one of your providers you're working with. And that's only for those people who decide they want to work with multiple print on demand providers. If you're only working with one print on demand provider, then it's not an issue for you. You just need to stay on top of what their quantity levels are and what's happening in their shop. And, if things get shut down, one of the machines is not working, or two of the machines are not working and processing is slower, then those are things you want to be aware of. But inventory, keeping track of your inventory, knowing where you're getting it from, what are you paying? What are you paying for this shirt? Remember when we were doing the exercise with Printful, we saw the price. So we know what the price is, and then we can estimate what our profits are going to be. And you want to keep track of what your sales are. That's going to help you to stay on top of your numbers anyway. But you need to track, your listings, which vendor is it with, what's the price. And again, your vendors do change their price points. So if they do, and you're using that particular vendor for that shirt material that you decided on, or phone case material that you decided on, and they change the price, 99% of the time, they're going to send you a notification if there is an active integration. If you don't have an active integration and you're manually fulfilling orders, you won't know about that price change until you go in to the account to fulfill the order manually. So there's something to automation, because you're going to get your notifications in most cases. I won't say 100% of all of the print providers give you notifications, but I will say the majority do. Okay. So you want to take care to document what your listings are, where you have your listings in some cases, who is the print provider, what was the price of the item, and so what's the estimated net profit, and how many sales you're getting. Knowing those numbers are going to help you over time. It's also going to help you to be able to, follow up with customers, so that maybe you with one provider, maybe you were only able to get it in medium and large, but there's another provider that you can get it in small and extra small. So you could always say, okay, if someone contacts you, I can get that for you in extra small. You just have to, the processing time is not going to be 5 days, or if it's not going to be 2 days, it's going to be 5 days. And you can be prepared to answer those types of questions that come up. So you do need to have a way to track your inventory, to pay attention to your inventory. And again, know what the return process and procedures are with the print providers that you're working with. Okay. So you can use software to be able to do your inventory management if it makes your life a whole lot easier. You could do some of this in Excel. If you're selling the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, let's say, you know, you've got a good thing going with, I don't know, 100 designs. And so you got a good thing going with these 100 designs, and they're just continually selling. You can get to a place where you start monitoring the data and the stats, and you can start forecasting what's going to happen. Maybe this is what my Q4 might be. Let's start doing some estimates. If my sales go up, this is what it did last year. My sales went up 12% during Q4 exponentially for everything that I sold. So if I estimate that my sales are going to go up another 12% this year, then, you know, this is my potential income that I might expect. Let's see if we're going to hit our targets or we're not going to hit our targets. It just allows you the opportunity to make better data-driven decisions, helps you to be able to better manage your money and your cash flow if you're paying attention to what's happening in sales, and then also what's happening with your vendors. Always checking those emails or notifications that the vendors send you, because the majority of the time it's going to be through email. Monitoring production cost. Again, if they change the price, you're not going to know that. You need that in your spreadsheet. You also need it for tax purposes, because what the cost that you paid, and then of course the cost of the price that the customer paid, are two different numbers. And so again, they want to know the sales price, and then you deduct your fees from that sales price, the cost of the shirt and whatever the platform is charging you. So the other thing with inventory, in some cases, like depending on what your customer wants to do, like if you want to create bulk listings or volume listings, knowing which provider you're going to go with for those bulk listings and who's going to fulfill them. This is only for those people who are going to have a lot of listings up. Like you're really going to throw everything you got at your print on demand business. So if that's the case, again, making sure that you're documenting that so you can figure out what your shipping strategy is going to be. Because when you're doing inventory management, and I don't know if you have, everybody here, everybody that bought the print on demand class should have the eCom planner inventory sheet. So in the eCom planner inventory sheet, there's a lot of stuff that we track, and shipping is one of them. So your shipping is going to be a little bit higher, and you want to make sure that you're estimating the price correctly for the listing, so that if people do buy, I don't know, a bunch of bridesmaid shirts in bulk, 20 bridesmaid shirts, or a family reunion pack of shirts of 75 or 50, that again, you have the shipping estimated correctly for that based on the information that you have from the provider. And also, I mean, you have a little bit of profit on there, hopefully. So inventory management is extremely important. Just being able to track what's happening. Where's your listings? How many do you have up? Who's the provider for it? What's the cost? What is the profit, estimated profit? What are you shipping it for? And then you can also put in there, if you're using your own Excel spreadsheet, like processing time for your vendors, you can actually have a separate tab for that, so that it makes it easier for you to handle those types of questions. So now we're going to get into numbers. Numbers is like, I'm a nerd. I'm sorry, I am. I love just kind of looking at the data and the numbers. I don't always get the opportunity to sit down and work on my numbers the way I like to. Like if I could literally spend a whole day just running numbers, trust me, working on spreadsheets, all that other stuff, but I don't get the opportunity to do it. So I normally have to do my stuff pretty quick and look at data. I like to slice and dice data different ways. But knowing your numbers, we just talked about inventory, and we talked about how much is it going to cost you? What's your estimated profit? What's the shipping going to be like? All of that. What's your processing fees for the platform in which you're going to be selling on? What is your print provider charging you? Like all of that stuff is stuff you need to know, right? All of that is stuff you need to know. That's going to help you get to what is my true bottom line. At the end of the day, I think I'm making $10 off of this transaction. But in reality, after you start subtracting a whole bunch of stuff, I'm only making $6.50. Again, that's where you need to know what's really happening. Okay. So staying on top of your numbers, knowing what your numbers are, how much profit are you going to experience with the shirt? Have I priced it right? Am I pricing it what the market is asking for this type of shirt or this type of phone case cover, or maybe it's a printable or downloadable, or it's a book? Am I pricing it right? I always start with going back to 10 competitors listings on any given platform. My VA to this day, she'll tell you, Nicole always says, I want you to go find this thing or find the related thing. I want you to pull up the first 10 listings on Amazon, first 10 listings on eBay, first 10 listings on Walmart. And she is required to give me the pricing for all of that so that I have an idea whether or not I'm on target or not, so that I'm not overpricing or underpricing. I want to get a sale just like everybody else, but I also want to be profitable. Sometimes people buy things at a certain price, so their margins are different than your margins. So you need to know what your margins are. The only way you're going to know that is that you're tracking that data. You have that information. The different platforms will have reports that you can run so that you can be able to determine what your numbers are going to be. And again, with the little calculator that's already in Printful, you also have one in, Printful. You also have calculators in Printify, and the calculators may look a little different, but they exist in the majority of the print-on-demand providers so that you know what your referral percentage is or what your, fee, how much you're going to get. So you want to make sure that you are tracking that information. And as just as a wise thing to do. We did talk about customers and we talked about customer service. If you have the opportunity, and you should have the opportunity, I would encourage you to create an email list. This is not on the screen at all. I want you to create an email list because you can promote or products to your customers. And I'm probably going to talk about this in session 10, so I may be jumping the gun, but you can promote products to your customers because you are tracking their information, their sales. So whenever you get a sale on any of the platforms, there's always some level of an email that's going on, that's going out to them. Notifications, either you're emailing them directly, or the platform is automatically emailing them, or the print provider is automatically emailing them in one or two cases. Keeping that information is going to help you for future potential sales, so that you can market to them later on for deals for Mother's Day or for Father's Day or for back to school or for Christmas. Like, get into the mindset that you need to figure out how to collect email addresses so that you can market to those people. So we'll probably take a deep dive in that in session 10, but I just wanted to, when I saw the lifetime customer, like, you want to know that information, the value of a lifetime customer. So you need to track your metrics. There's software you can do a lot of that calculation and metrics in some of the inventory software. It's going to give you all those places where you can track all of that stuff. What is the cost that I'm paying? What is the cost for the particular item? What is my profit? What's my ROI, my estimated ROI? Okay. And then over time, you'll be able to get to the numbers like customer acquisition and lifetime value, because if you're running ads, you can decide if you're going to run ads or not. If you decide to run ads, then you need to know what the cost is to acquire this customer, because you're going to be paying to drive traffic or get leads to your store, your storefront, whatever, whether you're selling on Etsy or whether you're selling on Shopify, like, you're going to drive traffic. And so there's going to be a cost that's associated with that. If you're looking for the organic approach, again, your time is going to be part of your customer acquisition cost, because you're going to have to cross-list this thing on a couple of different platforms so that you can drive traffic from multiple sources and not just Etsy. So knowing what your numbers are is key to your future success and your future growth. Even if you're starting off with, I'm only getting one sale a week. Okay, fine. You still can break down those numbers so that you can know what it is, what your true profit is. I work with people and they're like, well, I don't know how much money I'm making. I mean, I got a sale, And I'm like, you should always know how much money you are or are not making. You should always know that. So there's many different spreadsheets that are out there that you can use to be able to track that information, but you should always know how much money you are or are not making at all times. So you need to keep track of your sales. You need to pay attention to the platform reports that are available to you. If you're going to use inventory software, great. If you're not, if you're going to use the eCom planner spreadsheet, you can do that. You can drop it into Google Sheets, and you can use spreadsheets to be able to do that. If you are an Excel nerd, then you probably love formulas and calculations. If you're not an Excel nerd, just using the spreadsheet in column form, putting some headers on it, and plugging in your numbers as you go across the sheet is going to help you to be able to get a better idea of what's happening in your business. And you also need to know what's happening in your business for tax purposes. So again, keeping track of this information is vital. Now, knowing your numbers, like I said, knowing what your gross profit is. If you thought it was going to be $10 and it ended up being really $6.50, that may make you change how much you're listing something for, or that may make you change what you do. Figuring out based on the data, when's the best time to drop your price on something, or when's the best time to raise the price on something, so that, again, you can drive traffic. One of the things that happens on Etsy is that whenever you offer a sale, sales will automatically increase traffic to your store. It will increase traffic to the listing that has the sale, but it will also organically increase traffic to your store. That's a strategy that people use. So in order to get recurring sales on Etsy, what some people will do is they will offer a really cheap sale of 10% off or 6% off or 12% off of a specific item. And they know that that's going to elevate their specific Etsy store automatically. So, they might do a strategy of putting an item on sale for 3 days and then picking another item on sale for 3 days, and just keep doing that whole, depending on the number of listings, if they got 100 listings or they've got 200 listings, they just may go down the line. Today, we're going to put this one on sale for 3 days, because those little short sales is another strategy. It's another technique. When you do a long sale, like it's a 10-day sale or a 15-day sale, what the platforms will do is when the sale is ending, they start showing your item a little bit more. Okay. So when you do a short sale, like a 5-day sale or something like that, you're going to continually drive traffic to your store, because as the sale is ending, the platform automatically showcases your item just a little bit more. It happens on eBay. It happens on Amazon. That's a strategy you can use for every single one of these stupid platforms. Okay. So if you do those little promotions or run little ads or whatever, as the campaign is ending, they will show your item a little more frequently and a little more organically than they would before when you were paying for the ad, whatever. So that's a strategy. Put it on sale and also run an ad. You can do low cost ads. Maybe put it into your budget, just putting it out there in the universe. Like maybe you do $5 a day ads. If you do $5 a day, 30 days and a month, that's $150 investment. And that could potentially increase your sales by 25 to 30% just by doing $5 ads. So my point is, putting the item on sale, running an ad for the fact that it's on sale, doing some level of promotions, those two things combined can increase your sales. You could go from maybe having a store that's getting, 200 sales a month, to having a store that's getting 1,000 sales per month, just because you're using that strategy regularly in your store. But again, you want to put that into your budget. You should always have a budget, always have a budget. And you want to track and see what is happening when you do that. What happened to my sales? What happened to my views? How much more exposure did I get? Did I drive more traffic? That kind of stuff. So you can see what's really happening with your store. So I always talk about setting goals. I think everybody knows that. Everybody who's ever heard me talk. I haven't talked about setting goals lately. I'm getting ready to go back to it, but setting goals, deciding what your minimums are going to be, what your maximums are going to be, establishing those goals. What are your targets? What am I shooting for? I think the first thing that everyone should do when it comes to establishing goals, outside of just putting some basic, I'm going to dedicate some time to my business. Number one, question is how much time? And then number two, I'm going to set aside just a little bit of money to do this print on demand thing. And again, how much money? So the time that you invest should be 100% put into things that will make you money. Creating a listing is the one thing that will definitely has the potential to make you money 100% of the time. Not 5% of the time, not 2% of the time, 100% of the time. People can't buy what they cannot find. The listing doesn't exist. There's no way anybody can buy it. So creating a listing is your number one income producing activity. Now, will you always get a sell off of every listing that you create? Nope. But it has 100% potential to make a sale. Whereas product research, we don't know what the potential is. We can estimate. Sourcing, we don't know what the potential is. We can estimate. The only way that you can make a sale is that the listing exists in the universe. You might have lookers and they never buy. But you need to make you need to, commit time to your business. So when we're talking about establishing goals, the first goal I always say that everyone needs to establish is how much time you're going to spend in your business. Because it is print on demand, I would encourage you to spend no less than 1 hour. Now, if you really want to make more money, I would encourage you to do at least 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's 10 hours. It's a 10-hour commitment. When we get to session 11, where we're going to be talking about automation, you can probably get more done because of the automation than you would manually doing it, but it's still worth the investment. So at least 1 hour a day. How much can you actually get done in 1 hour? Well, if you get better and more fluid with working with Canva, the only way you're going to get better at it is to work with the tool every single day, right? It's like riding a bike. I love using the bike analogy. The bike analogy fits with everything. It fits with everything. Because again, the first time you get on a bike, you really look like you're struggling. You're wobbly and you're about to fall over. You can't seem to balance. You can't figure it out. Okay. But as you continue to ride on the bike over and over and over again and practice over and over again, at some point, after the 5th try, after the 20th try, after the 100th try, you get smoother, you can get faster, you can get to the place where you can ride the bike with your hands not on the handlebars. So you only get better with repetition and consistency. If you decide you want to try and learn how to ride a bike once every year for 10 minutes, how long is that going to take you to really learn how to ride a bike? You're not going to get anywhere. You're still going to be at the same place if you spend 10 minutes in December of 2020, and then 10 minutes in December 2021, just 10 minutes in December 2022, just 10 minutes in December 2023. How well of a bike rider do you think you will be? You will not be a very good bike rider. But I've been working on it for 4 years. I don't care. You're still going to be a bad bike rider. Why? Because you have not invested a long enough amount of time and you haven't been consistent in between. I mean, let me just say this. I would never want, we will jump from bikes to cars. I would never want anybody to be able to drive a car if they only spend 10 minutes every single year learning how to drive a car. Would you want them on the road? Do you want them on the highway? You do not. So the point is, spending very little time and being extremely inconsistent about something will never allow you the opportunity to get better at it. You will never get better at it. Okay? You have to invest the time in order to get better at something. So the only way you're going to get better at Canva or any other creation tools is you have to play with it. And maybe your investment in time initially is I am going to spend the next 2 weeks playing with Canva 2 hours a day, 5 days a week for at least 2 weeks. I got to get comfortable with this tool. I got to be able to work with it in a fluid manner. That's the only way you're going to get there. Now, once you've kind of gotten comfortable with the tool, now we can talk about what's realistic for you. So if I am only working in my business 1 hour a day, I could spend 15 minutes creating a design. It wouldn't take you 15 anymore. It'd probably take you 10 if you spent 2 hours every single day for 2 weeks. But I can spend 15 minutes creating the design and 15 minutes creating the listing. That's one listing. Now I can spend the next 15 minutes creating a design and 15 minutes creating the listing. In 1 hour every single day, I would have 2 listings up. In 1 year, if I did 365, I would have in one day, I had to do that math real quick, because it's not, if I do 5 days a week, okay, if I did 7 days a week, it's 730 listings, okay? Because instead of doing 1 listing a day, I would be doing 2 listings a day, 7 days a week. I'd have 730 listings up, which is a lot. That's fantastic. But I said 5 days a week. So I forget what that number is. I think it's 230 or 225, somewhere off in. So whatever the number is, it's in the twos. I do know that. 52 times 5. It's, I'm gonna have to break out the phone, guys. Hold on. I normally can do math in my head, but now I'm inside my head. So just 1 second. I'm breaking out the phone. Just a second. I know it's like 250. Is it 252? I don't know what it is. Hold on, just a second. So 5 times 52. 5 times 52 equals 260. I said 230. Anyway, I was close. It's 30 off. So anyway, so 230. And if you're doing double that, meaning you're putting up 2 listings a day, 5 days a week, at the end of a year, you would have 520 listings up. So can you work an e-commerce business just putting up 2 listings a day, 5 days a week? Yes, you can. At the end of a year, you would have 530 listings. But no, yes, 520 listings. Y'all, I can't do math today. You get the point. The point is, it's not going to take you your entire life. Now, that is the slow and steady and consistent way to do it. It is. So am I going to wake up after 5 weeks of doing this print on demand thing and be a millionaire? Absolutely not. But if I'm consistent for a year, will I have learned some things every day over time on how to get better at creating listings, on how to get better at product research, on how to get better at titling, and how to get better at tags, on how to get better at creating more engaging designs, and how to get better at picking which products I'm going to put this design on? Yes, I will. I will get better at it. And so my revenue initially for the first 5 weeks might be crap, but it's going to gradually, with momentum over time, it's like priming the pump. You're going to get better. You're going to create better listings. You're going to have better titles. You're going to have better images. Even if you're doing printables. Again, if I worked on 2 printables, or if I worked on, now the printables, you're probably going to just do 1 a day instead of 2. But my point is, 30 minutes to create the printable and 30 to 45 minutes to create the printable and 1 minute to, 15 minutes to put the listing up. If you're going to do books, like, again, let's just say you decide you're going to work on books. What if you decide that you're going to put out 1 book per week? That's 52 books in a year. What if you put out 1 book every 2 weeks? That's 26 books. What if you got sales every, 2 sales a week, and you got 26 books up? I say the profit is, $20, $10, whatever. Again, that is money that you're getting on autopilot because you're being consistent. Again, I want you to think about being honest with yourself about your level of consistency. Because, again, do you want that person on the road that is learning how to drive and doing it 10 minutes at a time once a year? No, I don't want them on the highway. I don't even want them trying to park a car near me because you didn't learn anything. You don't know how to do anything. So please don't get in a car. Same thing with riding a bike. That person will be running into everything. They will never get the balance part because they're not exercising that activity. They're not doing it over and over again. They're not working those muscles. They don't have muscle memory on how to ride a bike at 10 minutes at a time, once a year. You get nowhere. So I just want to encourage you to think about your level of consistency in the way that I just described it. If you give it 1 hour every day, 5 days a week, you could potentially have 520 listings up at the end of a year. If you decided that you're going to work on books and you write one new book, and it doesn't have to be high content, it doesn't have to be like a novel. It could be, one's a cooking book and one is a recipe book for smoothies and one is a devotional, whatever you want it to be. If you just did one book a week, that's 52 books in a year. What if it takes you 2 weeks to do it and you stick with your 2 hours a day? So if you're sticking with your 2 hours a day, you're spending 20 hours working on a book, and you got 26 books live at the end of a year. I want you to think about right now, today, whatever today's date is, and I want you to imagine 1 year ago. What did you want to have done already that today it's still not done? Still not done. Still hasn't happened. You still haven't completed it. You still have not made any progress on it. It's not even 50% there. Like, don't get to this place where you finish this class and then 1 year from now, if the Lord says the same and we're all still here, and I reach out to you and say, hey, how's it going? And you still have not taken action. You can do this. All of us can do this. You just require committed time and dedicated time. So in your process of setting goals, there's going to be some things that you need to figure out. Schedule is the first one. Schedule is paramount. The next thing that you need to figure out is, what is the goal that I want to set for myself? Am I going to set a short-term goal and a long-term goal? Maybe I have a short-term goal of just trying to get my feet wet so that I can gain some momentum. I just got to get my hands on Canva and I really got to play with it. And I'm going to commit to 2 hours every single day. But the first 2 weeks of this journey, or from today until the end of the month, I am going to focus on playing with, learning, and getting comfortable with the tool Canva. Every day I'm going to do something in Canva for 2 hours, even if it kills me. So then that way, June 1st, which is a great time to start something, June 1st, now it starts my journey from June 1st to the end of the year. What is my goal? June, July, August, the first 3 months, I had a 3-month goal. Then what's my goal for the next 3 months? And what's my goal for the rest of the year? What are the goals you're going to set for yourself? But you got to build that schedule first. Then you got to decide, after you build the schedule, like, what is it that I'm going to shoot for? What am I going to do? Some of you are going to do books. Some of you guys are going to do printables. Again, if you're going to do printables, you can do a printable a day, 1 printable a day. Now, to the end of the year, that's a lot of printables that you can have up. At that point, you can mix and match all kinds of bundles. And again, the great thing about printables, you create them once and they're just money after that. Same thing with books. Same thing with print-on-demand designs. So you need to set some realistic goals, some realistic targets for yourself. So I just created this little sheet. And so, but oops, I did not mean to do that. Hold on, let me go back. I got to escape. Okay, so I want you to think about today, what is it that you're going to do? You're going to build a schedule, and how many hours am I going to actually work in my business? Okay. So I need you to do the schedule thing. That's the first thing. And then write down what your hours are. It's going to be 2 hours a day. Okay. That's your time commitment that you're committing. And maybe I'm going to do 5 days a week. Okay. So here, once I figured that out, and you're going to have to figure out when that 2 hours is, because right now it's ambiguous. So you'll say, okay, I'm going to do it from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. If your 2 hours is moving around, it's going to be hard to maintain that unless you have a set routine around the movement. And what I mean by that is, if you're like a nurse, a perfect example. Some nurses work, 3.5 days on and 2.5 days off, or whatever. That I can't do math anyway, but you get the idea. They do a PRN schedule. So they always know that they're always working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and a half a day Thursday at the hospital. And then they're off half a day Thursday. So they're going to sleep, and then they're going to work for a Saturday and Sunday. They're going to be off. So they know what their schedule is. If it is like that, then as a PRN, your reality is maybe you're just going to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 1 hour. And then Thursday, you'll commit Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you commit to 2 hours. So that's a moving schedule. It's not fixed, and it has to adjust because of the nature of the job that you're working around. Okay. So that's an example of that. Now, if it's because you're like, okay, well, Wednesdays I got choir practice and Thursdays is Bible study, and Friday, like if you're all over the score, you need to find just one set time and say, okay, I'm going to commit to every single night from 9 o'clock until 11 o'clock to work on my business. So your goal is to have a set schedule so you can build a real routine around it. Just like maybe your morning routine is you get up and you get some coffee, and it's a set routine you do every single day. Your goal is to create a set routine like your coffee getting in the morning. You need to set a set routine. Okay. The next thing, because I want this to work for you. Okay. I need this to work for you. All right. So then the next thing is, once you have figured out your hours and you built a real schedule, then the next thing is, what is it that I'm going to create? What's the what? Okay. Maybe you're going to do physical products, maybe you're going to do printables, whatever it happens to be. But I would put at least 2 things that you really focused on. You really thought about that this is what the what is that I'm going to do. Okay. So if I'm going to do printables, I'm going to go across now. But if I'm going to do printables, then I suggested like, okay, let's work on creating just one new printable every single day for 1 hour or 2 hours or whatever the time is that you're committing. So if I'm going to work 2 hours and I say I'm going to do printables, then my goal at the end of 2 hours is to have 2 printables a day. I have created 2 printables in a day. What does that look like at the end of 3 months? What does that look like at the end of 6 months? What does that look like at the end of 12 months? Okay. How many would I have created based on that timing? Okay. If I am doing physical products, then again, I gave you the example of 1 hour, and I could do 2 physical products. So if I'm doing 2 hours, then I can do 4 physical products. So this is for 2 a day, and this is 4 a day. These are 2 different sets of things. You can put like prices and all this other stuff, but this is to get you volume, because on some of these platforms, volume is what matters, and the consistency so that you can get better at it. When you're inconsistent, you'll never get better. I hope that you remember that for the rest of your life. I hope the analogy just sticks with you like glue and it never leaves you, because then you can go, you know what, I'm not being consistent. I'm like that person is learning how to drive for 10 minutes once a year. I never want that person on the road ever. They won't make it down the street. Okay, so if I am doing 2 hours a day, I'm going to create 2 products. And so if I'm doing 2 products and I'm only working 5 days, hold on, I got to do the other math. So in 5 days a week, it's typically about 21 days in a month. That's typically what it is. I'm gonna do that times 3. And so that's 3 months. So if I'm doing 2 a day for 3 months, I should have 126 printables done. That's only 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. I can have 126 printables done. So when you're going on to Etsy, if I did that right, and you're going on to Etsy and you're looking and you're going, well, I don't know how they're making that kind of money. Well, they're not just doing 1 and leaving it up. They're not just doing 2. They're not just doing 3. They're not just doing 4. They are being consistent and creating over and over again. What could your life look like if you just created, put a bunch of stuff out there in the universe, you get to a place you got 1,000 listings up, and then now you just sit back and take in the passive income. Just take in the passive income of everything that you've already created. I just want you to think about that for a second. Okay. So 1 year from now, you could really be drinking Mai Tais somewhere on an island in Tahiti, whatever. You could really be doing that if you were consistent. But the problem is there's always going to be something, and there's always going to be a reason why you can't be consistent. And so then we'll be talking about this again. And the next time I offer the class, you'll take the class and we'll talk about it again. Okay. I don't want to do that. I want you to win now. I want you to win now. I want you to want to win now, but I can only want it for you. So now we're going to go ahead and do 21 days times 6 times in a month. 6 months. Okay. So that's 126 days. 126 days times 2 a day is 252 printables. That is 100% doable. And that's only working 2 hours a day. If you were only working 1 hour a day, you could cut this in half. You could cut it in half. So at the end of a year, we're just going to go ahead and do this times 2 because we're already here. That's 504 printables that you have listed and you are getting sales on passively. Even if you're listing the printables for $2 or $3 here and there. And let's say of your 500, let's just do some more math. Let's say of your 504 designs, like 10% of them get you 80% of your sales. 10%. Okay. So if 10%, So if 10% gets you 80% of your sales, and let's say the sales are 50 times, let's say your sales are, I don't know, $5. Let's just do that. That's $250. That's not a lot of money, but you get the idea. Okay. So if you're doing something where it's really cheap, okay, fine. You're going to have some volume, but people could be buying multiples and you could be selling bundles because you got enough to do that. So let's rerun those numbers. Let's say that 50% of those are like bundles and people are paying, I don't know, $50 for them. That's $2,500 every single month that you're just going to get just because you invested the time to create the 504. You got trickled sales coming in from the others, but 50 of them are your hardcore ones that are making you money, and maybe they're bundles. So again, anything is possible with e-commerce. So let's go and let's look at, and then I'm gonna move on. Let's take this same concept and we are going to do 4 a day. So 4 a day, only because we're already at 2 a day. So I'm just going to multiply this times 2. That's 252. I'm going to multiply this times 2 again. That's 504. And I'm going to multiply that times 2. And that's 1,008. Okay. Can you make money with 1,008 listings? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So if we do that same math, that only 10% of your listings, whoops, let's get it right, even though it's close. Let's say we only have 10% that are making you money. Still going to be $100. But anyway, and your profit margins on these 100 that are making you money. Okay, you got 1,000 up. Only 100 are making you money. Make 80% of your sales. So you still got 20% of your sales coming in. And let's say your profit margin on this is $12. Okay. Not a lot of money. No, it's not. Now, if we go in and we say, okay, we got some bundles because we're doing bridesmaid shirts, we're doing bundles, we're selling multiples of this or multiples of that, or we have things with a higher markup, whatever the case may be. So let's say our markup is higher. And so our profit margin on that markup is, I don't know, $35. That's $3,500 that you're making. So my point is the 2 hours a day, if you're working a full-time job, an extra $2,500 a month just by doing printables and doing bundles for printables could be extra money that you could save and put away for a vacation. Okay. $2,500 extra a month times 12 is clearly over, what is that, 5,000? That is $30,000. Is that right? Oh, now I got to do the real math. I think I'm right. Times 12. I'm a numbers nerd. Yeah, $30,000. That's $30,000. What can you do with $30,000? You can go buy a new car, you can go on vacation, whatever you want to do. and keep working your full-time job just because you're doing this print on demand thing and 80% of your products are selling. Now you got 80% that may be selling at the low price, depending on what you decide to do. Because remember, you're getting better at this as you go along. And then you have the potential for the 80% to sell at a higher price because you're learning how to create bundles, doing multiples, increasing your average order value. That's what you're going after. You're going after increasing your average order value. Same thing with your, your physical products. Again, start off with some really no numbers, $1,200. I'm still not going to bulk it an extra $1,200 just by spending 2 hours every single day. And all I did was do that for a year, and then the rest of it just sells on its own. Like I get an extra $1,200 every single week. I mean, every single month. I'm happy with that. I'm good with that. Okay. But if I were doing some bundles and some other stuff, then I think that goes up to 70,000. I'm pretty close. I'm pretty sure I'm close. Is it 70? No, 50. It's 50. Hold on. Let's see how close I am. 42. I had a different number in my brain. But anyway, 42,000. I think all of us could use an extra 42,000. Okay. We can all use an extra 42,000. So my point is, you have to do something consistently for a period in time in order for you to get better at it, in order for you to learn from it, and in order for you to scale it or grow it over time. The goal is not to create the same type of listings that you started with in week 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Your listings are going to get better. The quality is going to get better. The designs are going to get better. Your skill is going to get better. You're going to get faster. You're going to be able to create more. And you're going to get better at titles and descriptions because you're being consistent. You're going to be like a ninja at this print on demand thing. So, and I'm not going to balk at $14,000. I'm good with that. If I make $14,000 just doing something 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, I'm good with that. So, especially if I got a full-time job. Okay, I can take that 14,000, take my kids on vacation, go do some cruises, whatever you want to do, buy a car for my high schooler, whatever works for you. So I want you to set some goals for yourself and be realistic and honest about it. That's the only way that this is going to work for you. You have to be realistic and honest about it. So decide what you're going to do. And again, we could have done books. I didn't do books, but the point is, margins on books are crazy. If your book sold 5 a week consistently, or even, 10 a month, what does that look like for you? It's passive income, and you crank out 26 books or even 20 books. What does that look like for you? So you got to set some goals, but before you set some goals, you need to get organized so that you can do this. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Did I make sense when I was trying to explain this? Or did I not make sense? I hope I did. Is everybody awake? I know, I'm still talking. I hope this made sense. I hope that you guys are getting my point that I'm trying to make here. So hopefully it makes sense. I'll wait for the comments. All right. So again, maximizing your profits. Your goal is actually to increase your average order value. That's really what we're shooting for when it comes to your e-commerce business. So again, as you get better at it, you'll learn how to put together bundles that people will buy multiples of, or you'll learn how to figure out which ones are the higher profit products that you can list so that you can get the sales, and then how to drive traffic, because you're going to get better at creating listings over time. So I hope all of that makes sense. All right. So the next thing is talking about virtual assistants. I talk about virtual assistants all the time. The biggest thing, and I will, we're going to burn through this, but that virtual assistants can do is to actually replicate you. So if you're that person that you're working a full-time job and you just don't have the time, you can find a VA for $200, $300, $400, $500, $600, and you can use, or $700, and you can use that VA to replicate you. There are VAs that you can use in the US, and there's the ones that are international. But again, you need to figure out what it is that you want them to do. You can use them to replicate you. You can use them to do work. You can use them to do some of your customer service, to follow up, to do research. You can have them do all kinds of things. A VA can, if you are working a full-time job and you really don't have the time and energy to invest in this e-commerce thing, but you really do want to get those numbers that I was talking about, like you actually really do want to have 10 new listings created every single week, no matter what, then you could use a VA to do that. Hire a VA to work 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, give them the instructions. Of course, you got to create your standard operating procedures, but have them do the work for you so that you can still continue to work on managing your household, managing your job, and running your print on demand business. Okay. So you do have to figure out what skills you need, and you do need to make sure that that person can work the hours that you're looking for them to work, so that you can do this whole touch base, get in touch with each other, understand what is the workload and where do they stand on the work, what did they get done, what did they not get done, all of that fun stuff. But your goal is to, bring on maybe a virtual assistant to do some product research, product development, product design. My friend who sent me a message yesterday morning telling me, I love him so much though, and he had time to meet with me because he was going to the beach at 9:30 in the morning. I was like, oh, you make me so sick. But he can do that. He ran a print on demand business that he still gets passive payments for. So all I'm saying is, if you want to be able to go to the beach at 9:30 in the morning, or whenever you decide you want to wake up, you need to get started on your print on demand business, and you need to get serious about it. You need to buckle down and get focused. Okay. Life is short. We should smile more, relax more, enjoy our time that we do have here more than being stressed out about what we don't have and how we're going to be able to pay the next bill. Trust me. So you need to figure out what kind of VA you need and what skills they need to have. So here's some things that I want you to consider. One, there are some risks to getting a VA. You're going to potentially give them access to certain things. You can create accounts in most of the, you can create an admin account in most of the marketplace platforms. You can create an admin account, most of them. Or you can use tools so that your VA is not logging directly into your direct marketplace account. Or you can just have them do the designs and then you do all the work so that you connect it. If you want them to log into your Printful account, again, you can give them access as an admin, and then that way they can create the designs and push it over, and then you can publish it when you feel like the listing is good, or if you like the design, or whatever the case may be. So there is going to be some level of exposure to your stuff. Okay. The other thing is time and timelines. Your VAs, you may have a timeline in which you want things done. And so you need to make sure that you have a VA that can do that. It's probably going to be some time that you have to spend training them. And so you have to be prepared for that time. So your ramp up time in your mind, you're like, hey, I'm kicking this off June the 1st. I'm ready to rock and roll. That may not happen. It might actually be July the 1st before everything is smooth sailing with your VA. Okay, because you're going to spend some time training them. There's some stuff that you don't know. And so the two of you are going to be learning stuff together. You got to document some standard operating procedures and get some stuff going. So time and timelines, a budget and money. A VA is going to cost you money. One of the strategies that I've talked about time and time again, if you've ever listened to any of my sessions, is that you need to hire you need to work in your e-commerce business and take 100% of your sales for at least 3 months and set that aside to be able to pay for a VA for at least 3 months and not have to think about it, because you really get your return on your investment with your VA when they have been working for you consistently for 3 months. You'll start to get 100% of that money back if you train them correctly and your standard operating procedures are in place and you hire the right VA. You can start getting your money back. So if you decide you're going to sell a bunch of stuff on 5 Mile and OfferUp and Mercari and Poshmark and Facebook Marketplace so that you can get that extra cash to be able to set aside to pay for a VA. Again, you also have to think about, are they going to be in the US? Or are they going to be international? So those are all things you have to think about, but those are all part of your risks. And then your expectations, expecting your VA to be ready to rock and roll day one. There will be some VAs that are going to be ready to rock and roll day one, but you need to be prepared to pay them that money. If you're going to train a VA and you're going to bring them in at a low salary, then again, you need to be prepared for that as well. I don't know, something just happened. Tony? Okay, so expectations. The next is you need to figure out what type of VA, what do you need them to do? So are they a doer? Are they a thinker? Are they a specialist? A doer is a person who can do simple tasks. If you tell them, I just want you to do I want you to do keyword research. I just want you to do research on what are the maybe titles or words that are being used in t-shirts for women. What are the common words? So they can just go out there and look at 50 listings, 100 listings, whatever, and give you that list. All right. Those are doers. They can do simple work. People that you need to do a little bit more analysis and deeper thinking, those are thinkers. Those are people that are going to have to do some level of maybe additional research, maybe additional whatever it happens to be. So thinkers are going to be doing more work, and you have to be prepared to pay them. So do you need a doer? Do you need a thinker? Or do you need a specialist? Somebody that you want is a graphic artist, somebody that you want to be able to do the graphic designs for you. You have to decide what you want. And you don't want to do the designs yourself. You want them to really do intricate designs. Now, if you want them to do simple stuff, a thinker can do that. But if you wanted to do something more elaborate and intricate, you can do a specialist. You'd also wait until session 11, and we're going to do some AI stuff, and then that would probably help there. So you have to, how do I get started with whatever VA I decide? I actually do have a VA class that I've talked about time and time again. And so people would, you want to sign up for that, but you got to develop your business processes and document your standard operating procedures, and you need to establish a budget. That's the first thing. The second is you got to figure out what your options are, and you need to create an interview sheet so that you can begin the process of interviewing the people and decide how you want to screen or test them. So an example of that research is you got to figure out, okay, am I going to work with a service or am I going to use a site? So a service might be like Fiverr. That way I can just hire someone to just do the design for me, or I can hire somebody to do the product research for me, or whatever it happens to be. Is it going to be an independent person that you're just going to hire directly and you're going to pay them directly through Giselle or Venmo or whatever, or, you know, they've got themselves listed up on Upwork or Freelancer and you're going to hire them directly? You're still going through that service, but they're still an independent person. Or are you going to work with a supplier site like online.ph, where they have a bunch of VAs and you go through them and you understand what the guidelines are of hiring someone through online.ph? Are you going to hire them temp to perm? Or are you just going to hire them for a period of time? I don't know what MA was, but anyway, something happened there. And then you want to review their work, and you want to kind of see what's happening, whether or not that person that is doing the work for you, the test that you gave them, whether or not it's quality. So an example might be, you might, if you're submitting an order through Upwork and you're trying to find an independent person, you say, okay, I need someone to go out and do research or create 4 designs in Canva for teddy bears. Okay, so that's an example. So you'll submit that order through Upwork, saying what you want and what you need. And then people that are applying for your gig or your job are going to give you the designs, and you can decide which one has the best. Maybe someone, instead of just doing 4, somebody submits 10, or somebody submits 25, or somebody submits some really intricate stuff. You want to understand how much you're willing to pay them. So that's the reason why that budget matters. And then you want to make a decision. Who passed the test? Who gave you really good stuff and who just gave you crap? You probably don't want to talk to the people who gave you crap. You want to talk to people who gave you good stuff. Or if you're interviewing people, independents, you might want to talk to them more. Figure out, you know, what's the language that they speak in, what are the hours they're going to be available, what tools do they have access to, meaning do they have a laptop, do they have access to the internet on a regular basis? You know, those types of things matter. And, you know, what else do they need, or are they expecting in this job? You need to find out what their expectations are. So you make a decision on your person, and then you hire them, and you monitor their work and their output for the first 2 weeks, the first month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. You're going to be spending a lot of time with them. So you're going to have to establish touch base meetings with them so you can meet with them on a regular basis to see what's happening. But again, a VA can create listings for you. They can do product research. They can do titles. They can go through and develop designs for you. There's a lot of stuff that VAs can do for you. So it's a matter of you deciding, you know, what you're going to do. So if you're going to hire a VA, those are the steps. There's a lot more to it, but those are the high level steps. So out of this, we talked about a lot of stuff today. The first thing I want you to do is I want your activity. It says there's a blank sheet. I don't know why it's a blank sheet, but anyway, you're going to go, you're going to decide what method of e-commerce you're going to actually decide you want to go with, not method of e-commerce, but method of print on demand. Are you going to do printables and downloadables as your starting point, and eventually maybe turn your printables and downloadables into a book? So that way you're making money off of both. That's one. Are you going to do physical products? And if so, what type of physical products are you going to do? You're going to do clothing? Are you going to do like paint, wall furnishings, or kitchen, or whatever? decide what your method of e-commerce is going to be. Number two, build a schedule. I can't stress that enough. Build a schedule, something that's realistic that you can actually follow. And your goal is to set a specific time to work your print-on-demand business. And then I want you to do everything in your power to follow that time and to focus 100% on creating designs and creating listings, creating designs and creating listings. Number three, set your goals. How many listings do you want to have done in a week, or how many designs you want to have done in a week? And you need to decide on which platforms. That probably goes with number one, like decide, what method of e-commerce and then or print on demand, and then what platforms you're going to do them on. But I want you to get started. Those are your top three. You need to do that. I want you to be successful. I want you to make money. I want you to get the most out of this class. I've given you a lot of great information to help you on this journey. So I hope that you will. So I'm going to open it up to people who have questions. I know it's late, and I just want to allow you to ask whatever questions, say what you want to say, add whatever you want to add to anything that I talked about today. So go ahead and ask your questions. Or you can type them in the chat, whichever one works for you, however you want to do it. All right, any questions? Was this helpful? Did you get a lot out of this class? Did you get some valuable information? Did I help you with anything today? If anything at all. All right. Well, I hope that we're going to make some progress. Don't forget to schedule your free coaching session if you need some help, some support on your journey. I do want you to be successful. And with that, we are going to say goodbye for now. Thanks, everybody.